On June 30th, 1864, Abraham Lincoln signed the Yosemite Grant Act, which established Yosemite Valley and Mariposa Grove as protected wilderness areas set aside for wildlife preservation and the public's enjoyment. This act set a precedent for the American National Park System. A few years later, artists and journalists captured the beauties of Yellowstone and brought the reports to Congress until March 1, 1872, when Ulysses S. Grant signed the Yellowstone National Park Protection Act into law. This marks the birth of America's first ever national park. Over the next couple of decades, other national parks sprung up across the U.S., and the idea of preserving historical monuments and sites emerged. On June 8th of 1906, President Theodore Roosevelt signed the Antiquities Act, which gave presidents the authority to preserve historic landmarks, historic and prehistoric structures, and other objects of historic or scientific interest. But who exactly had the responsibility of managing these parks and preserving historical sites? Initially, the responsibility fell under the Department of the Interior. However, the department was inefficient in its management because there was no unified, organized leadership over the parks and monuments. On August 25, 1916, President Woodrow Wilson signed the Organic Act, which officially established our agency, the National Park Service, to be responsible for the 14 national parks and 21 monuments of the time. What are some examples of programs that the National Park Service has implemented?
Well, for one, we have the Community Volunteer Ambassador Program, and that offers jobs, internship, and volunteer opportunities for the youth, young adults, and veterans. In this program, they can learn skills and get a knowledge of different sciences that they're interested in. And let me think. Another example is the Park History Program, and this organization conducts research and is involved in the proposal of new national parks and the preservation of historical landmarks and monuments. Both of these programs help keep our environment safe.
Oh, one scat. Here's some more. As you can see, there's been some wildlife here. Yeah, this is really one of my favorite parks. All right, I'm just gonna take you for a quick tour through the wilderness. Follow me. Fun fact, these trails are only conserved because of the National Park Service. Now around this corner, there's species of chipmunks. We're in a nest under this. Just one example of all the perks we have at the park. Here, give it a go. I smell a chopper. Quick. Excuse me, sir. I'm a park ranger, and you're destroying my park. I'm a park ranger, just like Gerald Ford was, our 30th president, the only president to ever be a park ranger. This looks like a case of vandalism, which reminds me, the Joshua Tree Park, when the government shut down, was vandalized. And, excuse me! We have to bring it back. The National Park Service mission is to educate the next generation on how to value nature. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. No! I need to tell you how the government shutdown proves that the National Park Service is so important to us.
Wait, it really affected that much?
Yeah, cultural sites, museums, and presidential homes. Not to mention bathrooms were closed along with the government. Also, staff decreased, therefore littering, vandalism, and sometimes even fatalities occurred. Along with that, scientific research was halted, and a 60-year research project on wolves in the Isle Royale National Park was stopped. The list goes on.
Well, while she thinks of another question to ask me, I can give you a little tour of these plants. Climbing aloe plant, as you can see, we put this to good use. Spruce pine, along with the cones that it produces. And, an orchid, yes, that's it.
Today, our agency oversees 84 million acres of land, over 400 national parks, 270,000 historic structures, 582 national natural landmarks, 25 battlefields or military parks, 49 national heritage areas, and several recreation areas, parkways, lakeshores, and trails. Recent studies show that an average of about 275 million people visit national parks annually. Thanks to the National Park Service, these national parks, trails, wildlife centers, and historical monuments and sites are carefully maintained and preserved and are openly accessible to the public. But we couldn't do it without financial support. Our current budget allows us to effectively maintain sites, improve infrastructures, and provide optimal visitor experience. Help us stay true to our mission to preserve unimpaired the natural and cultural resources and values of the national park system for the enjoyment, education, and inspiration of this and future generations.